In the US alone, the sex industry generates somewhere north of $20 billion a year, with strip clubs accounting for about $6 billion a year in revenue. It's not just the world's oldest profession, but it's also one of the most economically important ones. Today, we're shining a light on the sex industry by following two real sex workers for an entire day. Lucy, 8 a.m. Lucy, not her real name, begins her day at the crack of dawn. This is of course unless a client is paid for an overnight visit, in which case she'll typically set an alarm for 9 a.m. Lucy is an independent escort working in one of the most lucrative sex markets in the entire world, New York City. Lucy is rare. Lucy is lucky that she is independent. For most men and women in the sex trade, doing so is massively risky. Typically, escorts are better served working with an agency, who will take a percentage of their profits in exchange for legal and physical protection. They ensure that clients are screened, and this weeds out law enforcement and potential abusers. They'll also usually provide a driver or a location where the escort can meet the client, such as a hotel room or apartment block under their control. If a client gets out of hand, help is usually just a minute or two away, though agencies vary and some don't provide any physical protection at all. Lucy is also lucky because she works in the higher echelons of the sex industry. She is beautiful, tall, blonde, and curvy, with a thick southern accent. That makes her irresistible to a lot of foreign customers looking for an American experience. She's also very smart and has a good personality. More important than you might think when men are paying upwards of $800 an hour to spend time with her. Lucy is a rare commodity, and this affords its own protection, which is why she's able to go independent. At 8 a.m., Lucy's day begins with a light breakfast, just enough to give her energy for a cardio workout in her luxury apartment's gym. She'll spend an hour doing some lightweight resistance training and then half an hour jogging, all to keep her body in peak condition. Given that her looks are how she makes a living, she places a premium on physical fitness. After her workout, she'll head back upstairs for some yoga and finally a shower. Sarah, noon. Sarah lives a world apart from Lucy, both figuratively and literally. She practices her trade on the West Coast, and while a pretty girl, she's had too rough an upbringing to ascend to the heights of the sex industry that Lucy enjoys. Her looks have worn out over time due to heavy drug and alcohol use, tools that she uses to numb various pains in her real life, and the stress of her job. Escorting is neither glamorous or a privilege for Sarah. It's something that she does because she needs to. Sarah wakes up late in the day. She explains that she's always been a night owl, which made it difficult to work a normal job, but she's also frequently sleeping off heavy drug or alcohol use, with her favorite drugs of choice being speed, marijuana, and cocaine. When she has them, she'll take downers at the end of the day to help her sleep, but mostly she's a drug user of opportunity, taking whatever's available and mostly what clients bring her or share with her. There's no fitness routine with Sarah. She's in her mid-20s and still attractive enough for sex work, but her looks are fading fast due to the stress of her lifestyle. She'll laze around until it's time to head to the local strip club for a late afternoon shift. Lucy, noon. Lucy's beauty routine is exhaustive and she dedicates her entire morning after exercising to it. As she plays the news on a big screen TV, she applies a variety of creams and gels to her body. Some of them are gifts from clients, such as the French aging serum that she uses that normally runs around $400 a bottle. The rest, though, she buys herself, sparing no expense. As she's doing her routine, Lucy begins her daily work of screening clients. She'll typically have 20 or more emails waiting each day from potential clients. There will also be several texts and voicemails to a Google phone number that she uses specifically for her professional work. She ignores the voicemails completely, but makes a note of the caller, adding them to a ban list. Lucy uses a website to promote herself and post ads on a few reputable escort websites where she's also a verified user. Being verified by the website gives a layer of confidence to potential clients who have a whole world of scams and the threat of law enforcement to worry about. Of course, so does Lucy. This is why she adds people who leave voicemails to a ban list. Her website specifically states how clients are supposed to contact her, with instructions on proper etiquette, which includes text and email only. Clients are also instructed to briefly introduce themselves, state their age, and dates requested along with an estimated time frame. Unlike many girls, Lucy does not do hourly visits. She charges a minimum of 6 hours. It doesn't matter if the client leaves after only an hour or two. That means that Lucy's daily rate is at a minimum around $4,800, though she offers specials for regulars and those wishing to book an overnight stay. She also demands half up front as a non-refundable deposit. This ensures that Lucy's time isn't being wasted, but also allows her to book the luxury hotel room where the visit will take place. Unlike some escorts, Lucy does not provide in-call services at her home. That can be dangerous. But also, she likes to separate her professional life from her personal life. She also does not provide out-call services. This can put her in a position where she's visiting a client at a location of their choosing. Lucy books at the same 3 hotels in the city for all of her appointments. With the cost of a room being around $500 a night, Lucy's profit margin is still high at $4,300 if the client only opts for a short visit. She does also offer daily rates, though, for clients wishing to spend an entire day with her, though she no longer makes herself available for trips as many escorts do. She had one bad experience while working in Dubai with a client. Things went sideways fast and she ended up stranded. The agency she was with at the time eventually managed to get her home, but the damage was done. It was the final straw for her as far as agency work and taking trips with clients was concerned. Lucy makes it clear to her clients on her website that there will be a screening process. This includes details like real first and last names, as well as a place of employment. Lucy will then pose as a realtor and call the person's work to verify they really are who they say they are. It's discreet, but there is no doubt that it creates a risk for the client. However, it's a small risk meant to ensure Lucy's safety. And besides, the screening is only necessary for the first date together. Lucy, 2 p.m. Lucy has an appointment for this evening, and her workday is officially beginning. She's out the door and on her way for a short shopping trip as the client has a special request. Given all the requests that clients have had over the few years that Lucy's been working, she's amassed a large quantity of lingerie and even costumes in her closet. Today, she's picking up a costume that she special ordered over a week ago. Many of her clients have fetishes, everything from cosplaying as a popular cartoon or anime character to superheroes. For a while, My Little Pony-themed costumes were very popular. Lucy doesn't question her clients' kinks. Her job is to provide a fantasy without judgment, but finding a sexy costume of a horse character can be challenging, which is why she works with custom tailors. But she utilizes custom tailoring for even normal costumes. Lucy doesn't buy a costume from a Halloween store. Her clients are paying for much more than that. Tonight's request is for a Spider-Woman costume, so over a week ago she paid for a tailor to take her measurements and make her a custom high-quality suit that shows off her curves. This isn't cheap and it runs her around $1,500. But for her, it's a one-time business expense that she will use repeatedly, and it guarantees that her clients keep returning. Like any business, sex work also requires investment to make it successful. Sarah, 5:30 p.m. Sarah's clients primarily come from the strip club that she works at. She's pretty enough to have a spot in one of her city's premium strip clubs, which is a big privilege for sex workers. While the strip club heavily enforces no sex inside the establishment, it's also nice and safe enough to attract clients with deeper pockets. The alternative, which she'll probably have to turn to in a few years if she keeps working the sex trade, is to move down the chain of strip clubs, getting progressively seedier and less reputable as you go. These strip clubs may make sex work easier by not enforcing no inappropriate touching, or even outright encouraging prostitution, but they also attract a different crowd. That crowd comes with an increase in violence, more risk of abuse, and a serious drop in income. At her regular club, Sarah can pull in several $100s in tips on a weekend, but at one of the seedier venues, she's lucky to make even half of that on a good night. Sarah's usually happy to only dance, but during slow times of the week is when she'll turn to sex work. She has to be careful not to get caught by management, but she'll usually test out a client by first seeing if they're willing to pay for 3 or more dances. If they agree, she knows that they have deep enough pockets and enough interest for what she offers next. For around $300 to $500, Sarah offers sex to her strip club clients. The logistics can be difficult, though. On a night that the club is very busy, she might get away with oral sex or even some penetrative sex in the club's private VIP rooms. That is a big risk, though, because if she gets caught by security or management, she will likely get fired. High-end strip clubs don't want the legal troubles that come with getting busted for illegal sex work. But Sarah also has to worry about the other girls because any client that she lands is taking money out of the pockets of the other girls. A jealous or angry dancer might tell on her if she is caught in the act. It's usually safer to simply go outside the club. On many occasions, Sarah will charge to leave the club and go to a client's vehicle for sex. At first, she would have sex in the parking lot, but after getting caught once by security, she learned to have the client drive a short distance away. Afterwards, she gets dropped back off at the club to continue her shift. This obviously comes with a big risk because a client could turn violent at any time or simply drive away with her. Sarah has friends that this has happened to, and there is little protection for them. Though smartphones are making it easier and safer for sex workers, Sarah has a group of friends at the club who all share each other's locations just in case while they're working. Cell phones also make it easier to call 911 for help if a client gets out of hand or tries to kidnap them. But for extra safety, Sarah carries a taser in her purse, which she's had to use several times. Lucy, 5:30 p.m. Lucy's back home and getting ready for tonight's date, which begins promptly at 8 p.m. The hotel room is already reserved and only a few blocks from where she lives. She'll use an Uber to get there rather than use her vehicle, leery of a potential stalker who might learn what her private vehicle looks like. She hasn't had an experience like that yet, another benefit of having such exclusive clients, but her friends in the industry have. To get ready, first Lucy showers and makes it a point to linger for 10 minutes with the shower running at high heat. The steam softens her skin significantly, making it more pleasant to touch. After, her makeup routine will take approximately an hour. She uses perfume, but sparingly, utilizing it as an invitation to lean in closer rather than an overwhelming scent. She also makes sure to be groomed in the exact way that the client requests. Getting dressed doesn't take long. She wears a tight-fitting but modestly cut dress that shows off her figure without revealing too much skin. Lucy would blend in with a normal group of women out for a night on the town, with no indication that she is in fact being paid to be there and likely to have sex afterwards. In a small purse, she carries her cell phone as well as a few hygiene products and condoms. Some girls will agree to not use condoms, especially if a recent STD test is provided by the client, but Lucy takes no chances and believes that the intimacy of condomless sex is reserved for relationships, not clients. In the walls of her purse, cleverly hidden in the stitches, is an AirPod tracking tag along with $300 bills. It's emergency money, and the AirPod allows a designated friend to keep tabs on her location if she should fail to check in. Her phone's location is also shared with a small group of friends who all help each other remain safe. Despite the safety of rich clientele, Lucy's life doesn't come without risks. Assault may seem like a strange risk for someone who engages in sex for money, but the fact is that sex is never promised, only Lucy's time is. This is how she avoids entanglement by law enforcement, but also protects her in case she gets bad vibes from a client. Each client ostensibly understands this, which encourages them to be on their best behavior. Lucy has turned down sex before. Sometimes a client has gotten too drunk or taken too many drugs. Lucy doesn't do drugs and rarely drinks. Both would negatively affect her body and looks. She doesn't mind if clients drink or do drugs of their own, though she draws a red line on hard drugs and on overindulging. Her safety is paramount. However, Lucy has also turned down sex for personal reasons. Sometimes, no matter how hard she tries to create a connection, she simply can't. Despite being paid for sex and it being her job to provide that as a service, like any normal person, there is just times where Lucy can't find even a shred of connection with another person to make sex possible. Most of the time, it's personality, not looks, as Lucy has to obviously be willing to engage in sex with men who run the gamut of physical attractiveness. But some people she simply can't get along with, no matter how much money is on the line. On those occasions, she cancels the date and refunds the client. But Lucy has to be careful because refusing sex too many times can hurt her reputation and drive away business. She also has to be careful of rejecting the men. Men are dangerous enough when it comes to rejection already, let alone when paid sex is on the table. Some men simply can't wrap their minds around the fact that even with money on the table, a woman doesn't want to sleep with them. And that's when things can turn very ugly. Though this is where screening provides protection. An abusive client can be easily found afterwards, and Lucy is not afraid of turning to law enforcement for help. Sarah, 8 p.m. Tonight's a weeknight and it's been slow. All industries are vulnerable to slow economic cycles, but traditionally the sex industry is the worst affected. When recession looms, people stop buying sex long before they stop buying soda, movie tickets, or electronics. This means that sex workers like Sarah, who don't have the luxury of an established list of wealthy clients, need to get very aggressive. The club closes at midnight during the week due to local ordinances. This only adds to the pressure because tonight Sarah has only made around $50. That's just not going to be enough to feed her drug addiction and pay her bills, so she needs a client to pay for sex. Most nights, she's happy with the money she makes stripping, which, despite the boom times on Friday and Saturday nights, typically equates to right around what a fast food employee would make. Tonight, she needs more, and that means taking on risk. It's not just her in the club who's hungry for cash, so are many of the other girls. All strippers are sex workers by definition, but not all strippers also engage in actual sex in exchange for money. At Sarah's club, only about a quarter of the women do, but as you go down the tier of strip clubs, that percentage increases. The competition's already bad enough for normal strippers. Club patrons have a variety of tastes, and sometimes, no matter how good you look or how hard you try, you just aren't it. Asian girls tend to be extremely popular no matter where in the country you go, but especially here on the West Coast. Sarah is white, but ironically, In the sex industry, this can actually be a disadvantage, not an advantage. That's because most clients who are willing to pay for sex are white themselves, and they're looking for something exotic, not like what they already have at home. Sarah learned this when she worked at a massage parlor, which is how she got her start in sex work. A white girl is rare in the massage parlor industry. Typically, white escorts who perform adult massages work as independent and post ads on websites. Being rare, though, doesn't make her valuable. She got so few clients that she quit and took up stripping full-time. As she turns her attention to securing a client, she has to compete with the other girls, some of whom are either looking to get a few more dances before the end of the night or are looking to secure someone to leave the club with. The competition turns fiercer the later the night gets and the slower it's been. Violence in the back room is not uncommon between the girls who feel like they've been slighted by another dancer or had their customer taken away from them. Cliques tend to form amongst the dancers, especially amongst those who also do sex for work. Sarah knows that being direct is actually the worst strategy. First, she has to secure an interest, which she does by approaching a man and playfully sitting on his lap. They chat for a few minutes, after which she encourages him to buy a dance or two with her. If the customer agrees to VIP dances, she's halfway there. Some clubs allow for dances right there on the main floor, with the client sitting on a large, comfortable chair. Others mandate that lap dances take place in a special section of the club. Sarah's club allows for both, but the alternate private dance experience is billed as a VIP experience. Rather than receive a lap dance there on the main floor, the customer is taken to a dimly lit, curtained-off area with large booths. The booths allow for a high degree of privacy, which helps with the sense of intimacy. But despite selling the VIP dances, which cost about $10 more per song, $20 more on the weekend, as a more sensuous, provocative experience, the truth is that it is the same thing you would get on the main floor for cheaper. But the illusion for the customer is that the VIP dances come with the possibilities of extras. Tonight, Sarah takes a client to the VIP, and after he buys 2 songs, she knows he is seriously interested enough to go further. She gives him a freebie in between the first and second song where she'll whisper seductive things into his ear and playfully touch him. She'll even allow him to touch her in places out of bounds from the club's regular rules. This is all to reel him in. After the second dance, which she puts a little extra spice in, she'll bring up the possibility of more. Sarah's good enough at her job that more likely than not the client agrees. But this strategy also has some risk, because sometimes the client ends up spending the last of their money on the VIP dances and has nothing left. This is known as going bust in Sarah's world, and if the client can't be pressured into taking more money out of an ATM, he's known as a dead fish. Word will rapidly spread and that customer will stop getting approached by women in short order. Lucy, 8 p.m. The client arrives perfectly on time. Lucy's already been at the hotel's bar for 5 minutes. Punctuality is key for Lucy's profession, a sign of respect and trust. As a repeat client, there's no need to break the ice. The two greet each other as if they'd known each other for years. Lucy leads with a deep French kiss, already playing the role expected of her. She knows that men like this and they like the looks they get from other men in public as they kiss a beautiful woman. After a drink or two and some casual conversation, during which Lucy plays the doting, flirtatious girlfriend, the two head upstairs. Tonight's client will not be spending the night, which is Lucy's preference, so she'll be heading home around midnight. At the hotel room, the client, a veteran, already knows what's expected of him. First, he places the fee, called a donation, on the nightstand of the hotel room. The donation is in $100 bills in a plain white envelope, though increasingly many escorts are turning to digital payments like Zelle or cryptocurrency. Then the client heads to the bathroom for a quick shower. He has already showered before arriving, but many escorts insist on a shower on arrival for their own comfort and to ensure a client is clean. While the client's in the shower, Lucy double-checks the donation. Up to this point, nobody has said a word about money. Lucy will immediately cancel an appointment if a client brings up the topic at any time. This is to protect herself legally. Assured that the full donation is there, Lucy prepares herself as the client requested, slipping into her costume for the pending roleplay. Sarah, midnight. Sarah has managed to secure a client for the night, though pickings were so slim that she had to offer a steep discount. Where she could usually charge between $300 and $500, tonight she's getting $200 to have sex in a client's car. The two leave the club in the client's car. She shares her location with her best friend and keeps her purse with the taser close by. There's an industrial park near the strip club that's always abandoned at night, and Sarah gives the client directions there. Once the two arrive, they find a dark corner to park the car. Sarah has learned a long time ago not to go to the back seat. In the back seat, Sarah is at an extreme disadvantage. Typically, the client is laying on top of her, and if things go bad, she has nowhere to go. So now Sarah insists on using the front driver's seat, with her on top and the client reclined. This lets her physically be in a superior position in case the client tries anything, and gives her the option of opening the door and getting out to call for help. Plus, she can also lay on the horn if need be. It also lets her keep her purse next to her on her own seat, with a taser in easy reach. She's good at her job, and it doesn't take long. Afterwards, the client says that he has to hit up the ATM, which immediately angers Sarah. She had made it clear that he needed to have cash on hand first. She'd suggested if he wanted to avoid the club's high ATM fees, he could go to a nearby ATM and come back to the club first. But the client had insisted he was good to go. This may seem like a minor inconvenience, but in reality, it's an incredibly dangerous situation. Now Sarah's being driven somewhere she hadn't agreed to go, with no clue of who might be waiting there. That is, if the customer doesn't decide to just drive off with her. The power is now completely in the client's hands, though, and all Sarah can do is hope that he really is just hitting up an ATM while she keeps one hand on the taser inside her purse. The client drives to a nearby ATM, but rather than the $200 they'd agreed on, the client only gives her $140, saying that's all that's left in his account. Despite the obvious frustration, Sarah can't do anything about it now. She angrily takes the money but refuses the ride back to the club, preferring to walk instead, rather than keep herself in a potentially dangerous situation. This isn't uncommon. Clients are often so spent after a night in the strip club that they might legitimately not realize how little money they have left. Often, though, reality sets in and the client panics at the thought of spending even more. This is why Sarah typically demands to see the money up front, but tonight she was desperate and had to take a risk. Sarah, 2 a.m. It's an early night. Sarah's made it home by 2 a.m., just shy of her $200 after buying herself something to eat. She'll stay up for a few more hours, the side effects of the cocaine in her system. At around 5 a.m., she'll take some downers to help her sleep. Tomorrow, she'll wake up and do it all over again. She knows she only has a few years left of being attractive enough to work at the good clubs, but she has no backup plan. Like many girls in her position, though, she started trying to start up an OnlyFans, but the market is so heavily saturated, there's no room for her. Lucy, 2 a.m. Lucy gets home at around the same time as Sarah. She could stay in the hotel room but prefers her own place. Upon arriving home, she stashes the night's donation into a locked safe. At the end of the week, she'll take everything she's earned to the bank. She lives off approximately 30% of what she makes and invests all the rest. Her plan is to only continue escorting for another year or two and then use the money she saved up to open her own beauty business. She already has business contacts eager to work with her, but Lucy's future is always going to have the shadow of her escorting days hanging over her. One wrong move, one client who can't maintain discretion, and her business reputation could go up in flames. She doesn't think about relationships much. The truth is, she dreads actually meeting a man whom she's interested in because she knows eventually she'd have to tell him the truth. For Lucy, escorting has been incredibly lucrative and set her up for a lifelong financial success. But it's also made her future one fraught with risk. And after years of sleeping with men for money, she has intimacy issues that she's not sure she can overcome, let alone being lucky enough to find a man who will overlook her past. Looking to hit the jackpot? Make sure the odds are in your favor. Watch how Las Vegas prostitutes trick you and the 10 tactics they use to uncover the sneaky ways they lure people in. Or check out this video instead.